Tom, it's great to be chatting with you. How are you, sir?
I'm great, thank you.
Yes, thanks for joining us. You've got such an amazing body of work, and for the benefit of our listeners, you started your career back with some absolute bangers. You know, from Return of the Living Dead to Friday the 13th, and of course your movies with Albert Pyun.
Yep.
And for the people that are no strangers to Albert Pyun's films, they'll know that you appeared in 12 of them. Like, what kept you coming back?
Albert, I mean, he was just very, very creative, and he allowed me to make some fun artistic choices on every project. So I kept coming back.
Excellent. I was going to pick your brain about what he was like to work with, but like your first film with him was, I believe, Dangerously Close.
My dog in the back.
Your dog destroy
One of many. My wife is rescuing dogs, so we have a couple of dogs in here.
That's hilarious. So, Dangerously Close was the first movie that you made with Albert. Was that just the regular audition process? Like, how did you come into Albert?
Yeah, it was, and it was a very long audition process, and I found out later that he had everyone stay and read scenes back and forth to see how we behaved, to see if we were could go with the flow, and he did it again. Scene stealer. Look at him.
When I was
he did it on purpose to see how we would react, and to see if we got uptight or how we behaved and stuff.
I think your dog took a leaf out of Albert's book. He's just seeing how we'll react.
Okay.
Best interview ever.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
No, I was serious. This is great.
when I was crate training my dog when he was a puppy, I'd wake up in the morning and there'd be like a quarter of the blanket will have been eaten.
Yeah.
You're like, what? In the end, just leave him uncovered and hope that he doesn't start eating the mat.
So, what do you think it was about you that kept Albert coming back to you and making you a regular player?
I think it was my choices and stuff. For example, when I did Down Twisted, the guy was scripted as a dark, physically fit. So I started working out. I dyed my hair black, and I got home and I looked in the mirror and just, God, that doesn't look right on my skin. The black hair. So I bleached it all white. And I didn't tell him. And I went down to the set in Mexico, and I got a blues. The character's name was Demolished. So I got a silver cap, and, just demolished them all out. I found a really great blue suede jacket that I brought down with me that I found at a secondhand store. And I walked up to the set because they had already started shooting. I said, Albert. And he looked at me, didn't recognize it. It's Demolished. He goes, I love it. So he was he was open, and he wanted the creativity input, make it your own and things like that. So it was so much fun, very creative process to work with him.
I was going to say, you must have had a great
I learned a lot, from him and his filmmaking and his style, and
Well, how would you describe him? Like, if you're talking to somebody that doesn't know of Albert's work, like, what's the best way to describe him as a filmmaker?
Guerrilla filmmaking at its finest, with some very artistic bents. For another example, I forget what movie it was, but there was a long, like a 5-page dialogue between me and someone else, and it traveled. We were going down the staircase, right? So, and in the middle of the staircase, there's an up and a down. So it was like maybe 2 floors, and there was a basement. So, and in the center was a door to go into the elevator, I guess. So we were traveling. We'd go up and hide behind the wall. We start our dialogue, come across the door, and go back down. We're still talking, and then cut. When we started up again, he changed the number on the door. So it was the same. It was like a 4-page dialogue scene, but we'd stop it, go up here and start the dialogue again. He would just change the door. So that was very ingenious.
That sounds a bit like Mean Guns, maybe.
That
one had a lot of stairs.
Yeah, it could have been. That was another fun project. I always tell everyone to watch that one. It's a really, really fun character. They almost were going to have me and my sidekick do a spinoff because we tested so high with the audience and stuff.
Oh, amazing! I mean, you've made so many movies with Albert. Do you have a personal favorite?
I like Down Twisted. Was a personal favorite of mine. Just working with Carrie and Charlie Rocket, God rest his soul, and we were down in Mexico, and I had shot it just before I took off. I left there to go shoot Friday the 13th. Jason Lives. So it was fun to have two films back to back, it's happened a couple of times in my career, but it's very infrequent and very unusual to happen for an actor.
Albert was a pro at doing movies back to back. He quite often had his next film prepped or already shooting before the wrap. Yeah.
We shot, what was it? With Carrie. I was a kickboxer. What was the name of that one? No.
Is it Heat Seeker?
No, it was. So Benny Urquidez was in it. Oh, Heat Seeker. Was it Heat Seeker? In the boxing ring?
Yeah, with the robot boxes.
Yeah. I don't think it was Heat Seeker. It was
Blood Match.
Blood Match? It was Blood Match. He had just finished Kickboxer 3, I think, so he had the set already set up. So he wrote the script in like a couple of days, and we shot it in 3 days, and it was a grind. There was a lot of dialogue, a lot of fighting. Benny Urquidez from the Jet Center was in it, and a lot of his students were in it. So that was very creative, very fast, and it turned out great.
Well, just as a comment, just as a comment, like just to fanboy a little bit here, like Down Twisted, I think is definitely my favorite of the films you've made with Albert. Heat Seeker 2, a big one, but Ben and I both agree that Ravenhawk is an absolute beauty. That's a classic right there. Yeah. That's a far better film than sort of history probably suggests. and amongst these films, like you've worked with so many amazing actors throughout this time. I'm going to just name some for the benefit of people listening. You got Burt Reynolds and Rob Lowe, Ice-T, Rutger Hauer, Christopher Lambert, Tim Thomerson, Courtney Cox, just to name some.
Yeah, George C. Scott. I was really honored to do a TV show, Mr. President, with George C. Scott. That was a classic. Incredible. Something that's never happened to me before. We were over at the Paramount lot, and I was a Secret Service guy that guard his daughter. And we kind of like had this romantic interest going on, and he didn't like it. And so we were shooting our scene, and we did his close-ups first. And then, it was time for him to go, so he left. So I ended up doing the scenes with a stand-in, and he goes, "Sorry, kid, 5:00, I gotta go." I'm like, what the hell? That's never happened to me. I understand it, but it was, no one told me what was going to happen. So
I think wasn't Michael Caine famous for doing that? 5:00 would hit, and he's like lights his cigar, and off he goes. So, are there any movies that Albert asked you to be in that you had to decline?
Recently, he was trying. Probably, I think, like 5 years ago. He said, "Come on and help me film this, and let's play." I said, "Albert, I've got kids, and it's going to cost me more to work on the movie than what you're offering to pay," because he liked to pay nothing. So,
circumstances certainly changed in independent filmmaking over the years too. So
yes, that's true. Yeah.
Just the quality itself, was a lot different. But you attend.
Well, they shot the film though, unlike today. I did a Western about 4 years ago where they were shooting on film. Which because when you shoot on film, the DP always says at the end of the shoot, "Check the gate," and that was like reminiscent of way back when I would do the film in 35 millimeters. So that was it was nice to hear, actually.
Absolutely. I'm going to assume that you attend conventions and things like that. And I don't suppose you get asked much about Albert's films. Is it all Return of the Living Dead and Friday the 13th?
Usually they bring me in for either one or the other. But every once in a while, someone will bring something that they want me to sign from Mean Guns or Down Twisted and things like that. So
Awesome.
it catches me off guard a little bit because then they really know my work and stuff like that. So it's
Is that when they're standing in line to get the autograph? Can you tell what they're there for? Like by looking at them, you're like, this guy's a.
I usually have to look at what they're holding.
Yeah.
Yeah, they usually have something because I don't have anything like that, on my table. Usually it's 8x10s, but there's nothing from Mean Guns. I even have some guy made a comic book out of Mean Guns, which I have. I never bring them out, but let me grab one. I got one right here.
Yeah, for sure.
Cream Rat Studios designed Mean Guns.
Wow.
They made a comic book. He sent me a bunch of them. I signed a bunch of them so he could, it's
Yeah.
Right. Awesome.
it's pretty, just fun stuff.
That's incredible. It actually reminds me of I heard a story that you can probably confirm or deny that Mean Guns, it was shot in a former prison or a brand new prison.
A future prison, yeah, because there was nobody in there.
And because of that, I believe they weren't allowed to put fake blood anywhere on the walls. It had to be sanitized, which is why the movie is so violent without any bloodshed.
Right. Yeah.
So that comic book can put the blood into Mean Guns.
Black and white, yeah. It's black and white.
I thought that would have worked well for the new prisoners coming into there.
That would be great if it was black and white and then had the red for the blood. That would be that would be kind of cool.
So how did that work? Like a brand new prison that hadn't opened yet, you're making a movie. Was there really strict conditions? Were you being watched by people?
There were people there, but it wasn't, they hadn't geared up yet. So there wasn't a lot of sheriffs there and stuff like that. Because all the prisons are run by the sheriff's department here.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. Now,
we pretty much had the run of the place.
Yeah, and it's a film before its time because so many movies since then have taken on that concept and run with it. It's I guess it's a little bit like Dangerous Game, which is a classic, but it's in a very modern kind of contemporary setting. It's very cool.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up and let you run, I want to go off topic just to ask you a question that I'm just fascinated by. I want to ask you about Gene Wilder. He was your first director, I believe.
Yeah, he was. The Woman in Red.
Yes, like I don't ever get to talk to people that've worked with him, so I'm just curious, like, what is he like to interact with? Did you get to interact with him much?
I auditioned for him. The audition was very strange. He stuck out his hand, and I shook it, and he had a limp, dead fish.
I hate that.
He wasn't giving me anything to see if I was sensitive enough to, and that was the audition, And I was like, my scene was with Charles Grodin, and I saw everybody else on the set, and Gene was directing, of course. So that was a lot of fun.
Was that like a baptism by fire? That's some like movie making royalty. Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah.
And then Kelly LeBrock running around.
Correct. Yeah.
It's funny though. I would imagine that his handshake is like that. It matches the hair. It's sort of floppy. And
I think he was testing me to see if I, how I would react to his handshake.
I always imagine that in the woman in red, the biggest part of the budget went to all the air just to make Kelly LeBrock's dress fly up. They're just inventing, like James Cameron's like spending millions of dollars doing.
Yeah, they didn't have any fans. There was just a bunch of grips underneath. Yeah.
There's a few directions I'd like to go there, but I won't. Yeah. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Like, it's been a pleasure. Your work is, we've only talked about Albert Pyun and scratched the surface here, but you've done some amazing things, but we appreciate you taking the time.
And we're doing all the Never Hike Alone stuff. We just shot the teaser for that, and we're going to film it over the summer, and then it's going to be released on Friday the 13th in October this year.
Yeah, right.
So we have that to look forward to.
Awesome.
I am actually curious that when you're walking, just in your regular life, when you're walking down the street, do people like screaming?
You know what? It's funny that you said that, because 2 days ago I was at the bank. My local branch burned down from some homeless guy started a fire, so I had to go to another branch. And I was asking the teller, nice guy, I said, are they going to rebuild it? What happened? There's a fire there. Yeah, homeless guy, blah, blah, blah. He goes, are you Thom Mathews? From Tommy Jarvis? I said, yes. So we got to talking. And I'm always surprised that people maybe recognize I don't know, because I look, older because I am, but maybe he recognized my voice. He plays the game, he knew about Never Hike Alone, Never Hike in the Snow. I told him about the teaser, Never Hike Alone 2. It's on YouTube, and I told him it's coming out. The film's coming out in October. So yeah, it doesn't happen it used to happen a lot more. But because of the films I'm in, they look at me, they know me, but they're not exactly sure. Yeah. So
that's cool.
I mean, yeah, I think you're instantly recognizable.
I was going to say, do you get mistaken for someone else? Do people are like,
when Michael Dudikoff did American Ninja, I was up for that role. And then when the poster came out, because it's his face, and we look very similar, my family was upset that I didn't tell them I had a new movie coming out. It was just his face. And then also, I used to get like Woody Harrelson, because I also auditioned for Cheers. Woody ended up getting it. The more I lose my hair, the more I look like Woody Harrelson too. So.
It's funny you say this because behind Ben, he's got a Radioactive Dreams VHS cover there. And I said to him just before you came on, like, Tom could have been one of them. Like, he could have played that character. Absolutely. All right, mate. We're going to let you get on with your afternoon. Thank you so much for spending time with us. It's been
Thanks
a thrill.
for having me.